We will also talk about your professional introduction, sometimes called an elevator pitch, and then we'll go into the CareerEco platform that we'll be using. After the fair, we have some strategies for you to follow up with employers, and we'll give you some things about upcoming events and things that are happening next. And as I mentioned, a question and answer period. And just so you know, you got the message just recently that it's recording. Reason for that is that we are able to then have this material accessible to those who aren't able to join us. So we'll be posting that through our career resources platform afterwards, sometime later. Okay, so the name of the game really with this particular event is preparation and being successful. So unlike other kinds of in-person fairs that you might be able to show up at, you really need to think through the employers that you're interested in. So taking time to look at that and research that will really put you in an advantageous position. We have these materials accessible through the Handshake platform, which we use for booking appointments and other kinds of opportunities. So most of you might be familiar with that, and then you're able to get the technical opportunities, Encompass-Converge combined fair. That information will be available there. You're also really encouraged to schedule time for yourself to commit to looking at information sessions, workshops such as this, and other opportunities. Just know that in the Handshake system, you might need to register in more than one way, both in Handshake, maybe also on a Zoom link and or an employer link. So as we and employers get more familiar with the virtual world, those might be more seamless, but for right now, just kind of organize yourself in such a way that you make sure to check all the boxes and cross the T's and dot the I's so you get registered in the way you need to. Great. So at the fairs, generally speaking, for those of you that have done it before, there might be similar audiences, but be prepared to speak to kind of different folks. So there's definitely going to be recruiters, people who are in that hiring capacity at the employer side. There might be other professionals that are maybe peers that would be doing jobs similar to what you envision doing. And you might also connect with people who are Carnegie Mellon alumni who are there to be engaged and connected to the events and moments like this with the college. So just kind of be aware that your audience might be many and varied. Some might be in a hiring decision-making mode, others might not. So as much as you're prepared to interact with people in different ways, that sets your mind in the right way. In terms of how it runs down, it's really very helpful for you to have some process where you have introductions and kind of key examples of things that are already typed up, since there's a chat element to this particular process. So kind of standard career advice, we might encourage you to think broadly about what you're going to say, but not necessarily type it out. In this case, it actually might be helpful for you to type things out, key points. You obviously won't be able to type out every possible question that could be asked of you, but if you have kind of key strengths and your intro, that can really help you get more prepared for those events. And then also, afterwards, you want to make sure to leave time for follow-up with those employers. That's good career advice regardless of the way you apply. Think about application as being a research component before, a thorough review of your career materials, applying, and then following up. So those are all important elements. And it looked like in the chat, we had a great question. So about them being voice or video, we'll get into the features a little bit more, but without leaving you in mystery and wonder, I can say broadly, most of your interactions might be chat. If you have private chats that employers may or may not utilize, those potentially could be video. So thanks for that great question. Great. Okay, excellent. So just to break down some of that research before the fair, what does that mean? Well, look at the platform, which is CareerEco. So you can go on Handshake and you can look at the fair that's upcoming, but the actual platform that we'll be using is called CareerEco, and we'll introduce that in a moment. And on there, you will see companies that are registered and that have, some of whom have set up their booth, quote unquote. And so you'll want to look through those that interest you and make sure to kind of have a list in mind of who you're most interested in. I would say that's true at an in-person fair too. Kind of have a game plan so you don't, wander the corridors wondering who to talk to. In a similar way, in the virtual space, you'll kind of want to have a game plan of who you want to talk to and what your timing is of that, just so you feel some confidence with that. Look at their information that they might put on the career ecosystem, but I would double and maybe even triple check. Look and see if they have something on Handshake, and then look at their company website themselves. Some employers might be seamless and thorough in putting their information on all three of those platforms. Others might have certain things on one or the other. So it's just better to do your due diligence and be as prepared as possible, knowing that employers are figuring this out as well. Make sure you have your resume, very critical, because that's kind of a primary tool by which they might select folks, is the quality and relevance of your resume and your experiences. So make sure that's the best product that you can have. You'll also want to prepare how you introduce yourself, how you quickly explain who you are and what your interests are. And that is something I think would be good to have kind of at the ready, since you'll be doing it more than once. And we'll give you some strategies to highlight key points that could be used in your self-introduction. And then write down a few frequently asked questions that might be some good answers, or key strengths that you might bring. Common one is, tell me about yourself, or walk me through your resume. There's like 20 million ways to ask that question, and having that is a good one. Why are you interested in a company or a job or this position? I think you should know anyway, because employers, honestly, they like to be flattered a little bit. And so even if you're interested in PwC and Deloitte, they like to think that you've done your research to know subtle differences between the two. And then just having a few skills, strengths, with an experience to back it up. So if you say that you have data analytical skills, if you can think of an example when you use that in your coursework or your internship, it's just always much more impactful as a listener or a reader to have someone show me something rather than just telling me and pronouncing that they have those skills without a tangible example to back that up. So those brief things would be nice for you to have at the ready, so you feel a little bit more in control in this process. Okay, so it seems like we got another chat question.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of questions about the mechanics of CareerEco and the cues, and I promise we'll get into that. I know that's important stuff, but that will be coming in just a few minutes. So we'll just do questions about that for now.
Great.
All right, so that being said, I'm going to take over for a while and talk about your personal introduction. So this is something that you will definitely use in this career fair, but you can also use it in a couple of different places. Maybe in an interview, when you're networking in person, if that ever happens again, even in your LinkedIn summary. So it's a useful tool to have. And generally, the framework that you want to think about when you're crafting your personal introduction is to connect your past experience to your current education and skills to your future career aspirations. So starting with the present, you'll want to introduce yourself, your degree of study, and whether you are graduating or whether you are maybe a sophomore or junior looking for an internship. And you'll talk about what relevant skills you're developing, things you're learning in class. Then that might lead into a bit about what you've done in the past, maybe mentioning prior internship experience, research, personal projects. And then finally, talking about how you can apply those skills and those experiences to specific positions of interest in whatever company you're interacting with. So in terms of your professional introduction for this career fair, you want to think of it it's probably going to be about 3 to 4 sentences. And as Matthew mentioned before, you probably will want to prepare those sentences both in written format and then also practice talking, verbally, giving your professional introduction, because you will be having opportunities to be in a main chat, which is going to be text-based, but also possibly to be in one-on-one chats with recruiters that may be over video. So again, practicing this introduction verbally, as well as having something written out. All right. Here's just a sample introduction. So for that first part, hello, my name is Yin Wen, and I'm a senior majoring in statistics and data science. That bit is something that you might lead with. So when you're when you have that those sentences ready to go that you're copying and pasting into the first chat rooms, that's a good intro that you might use for that. If then you get engaged in a conversation, either over chat or over video with the recruiter, then you can elaborate a bit. Talk about some of your past experiences and talk specifically about what your goal is as it relates to that company. You'll have to be a little bit spontaneous because, when you're talking to a recruiter, they may ask you questions where it may not make sense to go in this exact order, but having these things prepared, I think, will be helpful. And then, when you are talking to a recruiter, as Matthew said, make sure that they can tell that you've done your research, that you know what jobs they have posted and which of those jobs might be most relevant to you. You can also ask questions, right? You can say, I applied for this online. Are there any additional steps that I might be able to take, or any additional information that you'd like to learn from me now? Okay. So that being said, we'll get into what everybody is most curious about, which is this CareerEco platform. Before we start the slides, we thought it would be helpful for you to watch the short training video that's provided. It's only about 4 minutes long. If you've already seen it, I apologize, but I do think it will be helpful for me to play it and to give you all some context. So I'm going to attempt to do that now. Can you see my browser? Awesome. Yeah. All right. So next challenge is to get the sound to play. Let me know if you can hear this. Anything?
Not yet.
Okay.
However, you may still upload your resume.
Started from the beginning, and
results. Please log in using an up-to-date version of Google Chrome or Firefox on a desktop or laptop computer. If you're participating in a virtual career fair, upload your resume. This isn't required for virtual grad school fairs. However, you may still upload your resume for organizations to review. You may edit your profile, which includes your contact details, educational details, document uploading, and email preferences. Before participating in the virtual fair, make sure you have reviewed and expressed interest in participating organizations. Click Event Details, and then Event Details Learn More. Click an organization's name to view their profile. Click the gray checkbox to indicate your interest in that organization, and as you can see, it will turn blue. The organizations you indicate interest in will be notified that you've done so. Review the chat schedule ahead of the fair to know when the participating organizations will be available. For job seekers, review the job board to see positions posted through the CareerEco system. You may receive messages from organizations participating in the event. The number of unread messages will appear next to the Messages tab. To enter the chat sessions on the event day, click Chat Now. This will take you to the Rooms area where you'll see a list of currently open chat rooms. Close and open the chat icons window as needed. This will help you identify any icons or symbols that you don't understand. Control sounds in the chat room by clicking on the speaker icon. Review organization names, chat room topics, and chat times to determine which rooms you'd like to enter. Also be sure to note the fair's time zone. Moderator Online indicates that an organization representative is online and available to chat. Click Join Chat to enter a room. Organization reps and other candidates are listed. You will see your full name, first and last. However, other candidates will only see your first name and last initial. And you will only see the first name and last initial of any other candidates who are in the room. Links to the organization's profile and various social media platforms may be available. Click the Files button to see if there are any downloadable files that the organization has provided. Messages posted to the main chat room are visible to everyone who is in the room. You can also read through conversations that have happened in the main chat before you enter the room. To private chat with an organization rep, click the blue arrow to the right of their name and select Invite to Private Chat. Once you send a message using the bottom chat message box that is opened up, the rep will receive an alert and be able to respond. Reps may also initiate a private chat with you, and you can go back and forth between each individual private chat by clicking on the rep's name. Keep in mind that some reps may choose to block private chats and answer all questions in the main chat. Though each fair is different, you can generally enter more than one room at a time. Click the Rooms tab and join another room by clicking Join Chat. Toggle between rooms by clicking on the tabs at the top of your screen. You will receive alerts when you receive messages in a room that you are not currently in. A quick tip, only do this if you're able to efficiently concentrate on more than one conversation at a time. Otherwise, enter one room at a time. Organization reps may broadcast audio or video into the room, share their screen and audio to give a presentation, or invite you to have a one-on-one private video conversation. To be able to participate in these features, you must be logged in on a desktop or laptop computer using an up-to-date version of Google Chrome or Firefox. The multimedia features are not supported in other browsers. You can leave the room by clicking on the Exit Room button. If you need any help or have any questions during the fair, please click on the Need Help button to access our contact information.
Great. Thanks so much, Kristen. The first thing that I would say after that overview is don't panic. If you felt like, oh my goodness, they spoke a mile a minute and clicking everywhere, that's how I felt after the 20th time I watched that video. So you'll have to look at it a couple times, but unpacking some of that content, there's some basics that I would say are really important in that overview. One is that use Google Chrome or Firefox with this particular browser so you have the full array of features available to you, and make sure that you have registered ahead of time. I don't want to overbeat this point, but I don't want to underbeat this point. It's not like a in-person fair when you can kind of have your resume and just kind of walk in and do it. You have to register ahead of time. So it doesn't have to be something that takes you a long time to upload your resume, but just make sure that you do that ahead of time. The other reason that I would say to do it sooner rather than later is that there is the possibility that employers who are kind of eager beavers and are looking at people ahead of time might look at some resumes ahead of time and think about strategy on their part in the same way that I gave you advice for you to have a game plan when talking to employers. Employers also like to have a game plan and who they reach out to for students. So if you have your information available, then that will be helpful for you. So make sure that you do that. And also really important, just as a detail, but an essential one, is when you select your education that you put down Carnegie Mellon, because this fair is linked to Carnegie Mellon University. The CareerEco platform is used by other colleges and universities, so you want to make sure that you are able to visually see this fair, which you'll know if you register and you set that up ahead of time. So those are the key points from that slide. And following on for that, we keep talking about game plan. And with that, what that means is looking through the profiles of the employers and seeing if they have a booth there and they've got information. Some of them may be more complete than others. So as I mentioned, it's good to look at their regular website, maybe also look on Handshake if they've had postings there. So you might look in 3 different places, but you'll get fuller information if you just cross-check that. And then kind of have a tentative schedule for yourself based on your availability and their availability in terms of when they're able to talk with folks. Many employers might be having multiple representatives. Employers are permitted to have in the system up to 8 reps. So there might be some that have a lot of folks helping them out and are able to talk to lots of students. There are other smaller organizations that might have a more limited schedule. So just kind of double check that too as you're looking at times that kind of coincide with your schedule as well. So you can plan out ahead of time when you're able to come and speak with certain employers and with others as well. You might get through the system messages, and those messages are from recruiters that might be inviting you based on their resume, where they might ask you to have a private chat with them. So those are things that you should definitely respond to. It's not spam, and make sure that you are kind of keeping track of the information at the point at which you've registered on the career ecosystem and put your resume in there. Just make it a habit to once a day, once every other day, just checking to make sure on the platform that you don't have any messages. We'll show you on the screen in a moment what that looks like, but it'll be really obvious that you've got a message and that you would be able to easily see that. And those messages don't go out like email. I can send an email right now. Those messages only go out twice a day.
All right, so I think we're going to pop out of this again real briefly to just show you what our career fair actually looks like in CareerEco. So this is, I've basically created my individual student account, and this is what it'll look like. So this is for day 1 of the fair, September 14th. And again, it's really important to remember that you have to register for all 3 days separately. So it's not like the in-person TOC where, you register once on Handshake, you go for all 3 days. This is actually 3 separate registrations. So here on this homepage, when I click on view list of participating organizations, these are the organizations that are participating on the 14th, not necessarily on the 15th or 16th. And you can see here that there are filters that you can use. I can search by visa sponsorship, by majors, by locations. Scrolling down, these are actually the employers who are going to be there on the 14th. Here's that button, that really important button that you should check to indicate your interest in certain companies. And then you can see they indicate majors that they're interested in, positions, locations that they have available. This being said, this might be a good time to talk about, overall or general goals that you might have for career fairs, because just because a company may not have an open position that's a good fit for you, or maybe they don't have any open positions at all, that doesn't mean that this isn't a good opportunity to network with a representative from that company. So, maybe your goal for each day is to connect with 5 to 10 employer reps and just to ask them about open positions that are a good fit for you. So again, keeping in mind that, you know, you don't want to eliminate companies that you're interested in just because they may not be showing all majors here. Other things, so unfortunately, you know, I can't really show you what it looks like to chat because there are no employers here, obviously, yet. But when you do click that button, here's where you'll join those main chat rooms. And this will obviously be populated with specific times as we get closer. Job board, again, here is where you can see where companies have posted positions. We have requested that they all post their positions in Handshake as well. And Handshake is where you'll actually be applying for those jobs. But here you can see what's available. So maybe you want to search this list before you have your conversations with recruiters so that you can ask about specific positions. Here's where you'll upload your resume. Here you can see your profile and an opportunity to edit your profile. And then if you have any messages, you'll have an indicator up here. I, of course, will not have any messages right now. Okay, so that's kind of what it looks like when you're actually in CMU's career fair platform. And I'll go back to our slides. Oops, sorry, I cut you off a little short, Matthew.
No, that's great. No problem. Okay, so here's just a sample company, actually a great partner that we work with, BNY Mellon. So Kristen showed you visually on the actual fair that checkbox that is highlighted in that red. Make sure that you have it. If you go to their booth directly, this is what a sample employer booth would look like. Make sure that that's checked so it then becomes blue, and that shows that you are interested in that company. Some employers may choose to filter by students who've expressed an interest in their company by checking that box. So just have a look and make sure that you've done that. You can see that there's things like an overview of the company, potentially job postings. Some employers might post them on the CareerEco platform. It gives information about the industry, location, if there's information about work authorization. But as I mentioned, kind of cross-reference some of that information. Some employers might have more detailed information in their booth than others. So it's just always great to remind yourself to prepare, especially for those companies that you're really keen on.
Mm-hmm. And if you were to go in today, you may not see much information in company booths yet, just because employers, I think, are notoriously last minute. So they will probably be populating their booths as we get a little closer to the fair.
Right. Good point. Thanks, Kristen.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit more about some things to keep in mind when you're preparing for the fair and during the fair. This is all best case scenario. However, you know, not everybody is going to be able to have the perfect setup, especially now. We all have different challenges. So I'll just preface this by saying, you know, do your best, but don't feel like you have to be absolutely perfect. I think everybody, including employers, are understanding, especially now. But if you can, it's best to use headphones and a mic just so that you have the best audio possible, and to find a space that's quiet and well lit. Be conscious of your background. You know, we probably advise against using a virtual background unless you're sure that it's not going to make your head look wonky when you move around. And of course, you know, it should be professional and appropriate if you are using a virtual background. Otherwise, just a plain white wall, if you can find one, works perfectly fine. If you can, ask roommates and cats and dogs to be respectful of your time in the fair, turn off the TV, and, you know, dress and groom as if this were an in-person situation, because you may be asked to get on to a video chat. And if that happens, you don't want to be taken by surprise. When you're chatting, when you're doing your text-based chats, make sure that you're responding in complete sentences. So these text-based chats should look more like formal emails, like to a professor maybe, than they would look like the text that you're sending your friends on the phone. So punctuation, capital letters, all of those good things. And as I said before, this is an opportunity to network. So make sure you are keeping track of who you're talking to and who you're connecting with. Hopefully you'll be able to see the names of the recruiters, but if you don't see the name or you don't see the full name, don't be shy about asking a recruiter if you might be able to take down their contact information so that you can follow up. Some might be okay with that, some might not, but it's always a good idea to at least have a first name so that you can reference that, maybe when you're applying after the fact or when you're following up on an application. And then finally, just remember to stay visually engaged. So we've all had a lot of practice doing these Zoom meetings, but don't forget to look into the camera when you're talking. If you need to, you can use books to level up your laptop or move the video image so that it's just underneath the camera to help you remember to look in that direction. And I know we're getting a lot of questions in the chat. We will get to those at the end of the presentation. Okay, so just some visual imagery in terms of what to do versus what not to do. The two pictures on the left, not good. You want to be conscious of not putting your face up too closely to the camera. And then if you have a lot of light behind you, it makes you look like a dark shadow. So best to have light coming at you from the front, not from behind. If your camera is tilted up, then we'll only see the top half of your face. Assuming that you don't have any physical disabilities, that would prevent you from being able to be upright, it's best to be seated in an upright position if at all possible. And then, again, be conscious of what's behind you. Nobody wants to see what's in your closet. So if you have just a plain wall, that's usually best. Right. So again, another review of how this live chatting works in CareerEco. I don't think you can hear this too many times because it is brand new and it's a little bit confusing. So number one, you click that orange join chat button next to the company name. And then once you're entering that group chat room, you'll see all of the org reps. You'll also see all of the students who are in that room. So you won't be able to see people's full names. You'll see a first name and a last initial, but anything that you type in the main chat room will be viewable to everyone who's in the chat room. So be conscious of that. And I believe there are 100 students allowed into a group chat at a time. Yes. Yeah, so if the room is maxed out, let's say there are 100 students in there already, you won't be able to join that room. And there won't be a queue. You'll just sort of have to keep tabs on the room and keep trying to enter. So that's the big difference between this virtual career fair and sort of what you're used to at the TOC, where you're, all day is basically spent queuing up in these long lines. Because here, both recruiters and students can have multiple chats going on at the same time, there are no lines. And you may have to wait a bit before you chat with somebody, but when that person is available, you'll be notified. If a group is full, though, you will have to keep going back to check. You won't get a notification that the group or the main chat room is available. Other things that are different, in this particular fair, each employer may run their room a little bit differently. So you may go into one company's main chat room and you'll see an employer or a recruiter broadcasting. So they may be giving like a mini presentation to everybody who's in the room. Other employers may prefer to just have their representatives answering questions as they come up. Some employers are going to be doing a lot of one-on-one chats, and some employers may not be doing any. So there isn't really, a standard way that this is going to work. You just kind of have to be prepared for everything. Isn't that fun? And then I will say, you know, if you're going to do like the multiple chat room thing, just be, you know, conscious of your own limitations and if that's something that you think you might be able to handle. For me personally, like I get too distracted. I think I could probably handle maybe 2 chats at the same time. And if I did more than that, I would be afraid of saying the wrong thing to the wrong recruiter. So you don't want to be in a situation where you're in Oracle's chat room and you're saying, you know, oh, I'm so excited to work for Amazon. So, you know, just be aware of your own strengths and weaknesses in that area. You can join up to 3 rooms at a time if you wish. And as we said, if you're invited to a private one-on-one chat with a recruiter, a little yellow box will pop up and you'll just click on that rep's name to accept their private chat request. And once you do that, a new window will open up at the bottom of your screen, and that's where it'll just be you and that recruiter. All right. The other thing that may be available as an option to you is to initiate a private chat with a rep. So you can take the lead and actually ask one of the employer representatives to do a one-on-one chat. So if they are allowing you to do that, this could be a really good way to be, you know, quote unquote seen. However, depending on how busy the booth is, how busy that representative is, they may not be able to respond immediately. And I will also say that some employers will probably be blocking that function and limiting their private one-on-one chats to candidates that they've pre-selected. Okay, so if you don't see that as an option, just know that it's probably because the employer has just blocked that functionality. Okay, we will be available to support you. I know the video mentioned if you click this orange need help button, that'll take you to CareerEco support. CareerEco will also have a booth when you have like questions about like, you know, my volume's not working, or I don't understand where this chat that I was in disappeared to. So if it's something related to the platform, probably best to ask CareerEco for help. If you have other questions though, or CareerEco is not responding, we, the CPDC, will also have a booth in CareerEco. It'll be staffed from 1 to 9 on all 3 days, and we will definitely be there to answer questions. So you can join our booth if you have questions that need immediate attention. And the last thing that I'll just reiterate is that if you are going to initiate a private chat, just be conscious of the recruiter's time. Make sure that if you do that, you have some questions prepared or your introduction and follow-on prepared so that you have some things to say. If you're going to take the lead, then you know, make sure you're comfortable taking the lead in that conversation.
Great, thanks so much, Kristen. Just a couple more things to wrap up and then we'll get plenty of time to get some of these great questions coming through. So certain things to think through are really making sure that you're taking the time to present and write down the information that employers are giving you. It can be really difficult in the moment to record information, so have a notepad ready or something where you can jot down quickly a key point that you might have learned from an employer, or any kind of direction that you might have gotten in terms of how to apply properly, and make sure to follow to the letter the way they suggest applying so that you don't miss out on those opportunities. It's also just good practice to send thank you notes and or messages to employers that you are connected with. You certainly don't have to do that with every single person, but and thank you is always appreciated by people. You might not get a response to that, but I think that it's just generally considered good practice, and it's a good opportunity if you've found out something particular to mention a specific, and you never know, even if they don't respond, if they might have read it and just you come top of mind to them because you took that time. Also, you may wish to connect with certain people that you've engaged with on LinkedIn, another way that you can use the various social media to your advantage in the career process. We also suggest that if there were any particular positions that you might have learned at that you wanted to make sure to apply to, just always make sure you follow up and follow through. That's kind of the summary of everything here. We do have some other resources for you. You can access them through the Handshake platform under the tab underneath Career Center called Resources, right by where you book appointments. And those include Big Interview, which is a practice interview platform. So you can kind of simulate the virtual platform that you might be using, and any other kind of preparation tools like VMock that can help you with your resume. Just use those resources that the university offers. And giving you a taste of upcoming, so we're really focused on this month and the next couple of weeks with the big Encompass TOC-Converge combined event with our partners here in Silicon Valley as well, upcoming 14th, 15th, 16th September. We also have other events like Spark that is for startups and emerging companies that will be coming up in October, an International Opportunities Fair later on this term, and then next term we have our Spring Encompass and the CAOC, as well as a UI UX virtual fair towards the end of the year. And throughout, we have ongoing workshops and information sessions. So as I mentioned, just kind of organize your search process, organize your career information, to-do lists, whatever works for you, so that you keep track of all this great stuff. And then finally, we have some resources for you. That video that we played for you is available. You'll also access that when you see CareerEco. There is in PDF form some of the slides, if you're more visual that way versus a video for the CareerEco platform. We do recommend, as we've said, make sure that resume is as tip-top as it can be, and you can use the VMock program to help you and uses artificial intelligence to and ways to critique your resume ahead of time, but then also consider having a career consultant review it, just so you feel like you're confident in that. And then you're also welcome to talk with us about just career information in general. So we definitely welcome that. Great. So with that, it looks like we got lots of questions.
Yeah. I actually also just put in the chat a link to 2 handouts on our website. We have just a one-pager on like virtual career fair quick tips, and then a one-pager on the self-introduction. So those are both on the website.
Great. So let's back a little bit. I did attempt, and not able to get all of those questions. I did attempt to address some of those. So I know early on there was a question about chats and being restricted. So as Kristen mentioned, Ishkun, in her presentation, there are some employers that may want to do private chats. There may be others that don't want to do private chats. So it's really up to the employer how they would like to use this fair as an opportunity to connect and engage with students and potential candidates. So it would be up to them how they would like to do that. Someone else later asked about video versus chat. I would say it's fair to say probably most of your interactions might be with the chat function versus video. Again, that would be determined based on what the employer preferences are, what their bandwidth is, and all other variables that they might use to consider it in terms of their own process. Some have kind of standardized procedures where they try to depersonalize it and not have the visual element as a selection factor. So they've chosen to remove videos for that reason. So we're just being as responsive as possible to their circumstances. But fair point, I think it would be worth your while to that point, as we mentioned, to have some of those kind of key written things all ready to go, so you don't have to keep typing the same thing several times, and you kind of have things at the ready as you're also more dynamic. Other things in terms of uploading portfolios for art students. Kristen, do you have any information about that? If you wanted, as an art student, to upload portfolio documents?
I am not sure if on your profile there is a place to upload additional attachments. But if there are, it would be very apparent when you're completing your profile. The other thing that you could do is, assuming that it's a web portfolio, is just have a link to it on your resume so that when they're viewing your resume, they'll see that too.
Right.
And that's something you can easily share in a chat.
Right. And just for me and my sake, our slides for this presentation, are they on Handshake already? Or did I mistake that?
So they are we did this presentation 2 weeks ago, and they are attached to that event. We will reattach the slides to tonight's event, and the recording of this workshop is already on Canvas. For undergrad students, you all have access to Career Launch, and this will be under Module 8 of Career Launch under your Canvas site.
Great, thanks for that.
Mm-hmm.
We answered some of those.
Someone else asked if there's an online wait in line function. Chelsea asked for private chatting. There are no lines of any sort. So if you do not get a response, you will technically be waiting for that recruiter to finish, but you won't really know where you are in that queue.
Yeah. Let's see. So if you're online, does it have a little green button to let people know that you're online and available on the career ecosystem? I believe that it does. It lists your name as a candidate. The recruiter sees your full name as a candidate in the chat. Your fellow classmates only see, like in my case, you would see Matthew and then the first of my last name, which starts with the letter S. It'd say Matthew S. But it wouldn't have my full name, Matthew Seeley. So I think that's a good question. Yeah, I totally understand the waiting room queue thing. Like Kristen said, it's not visually as easy as like I go to the gym and wait in line. It's more of this process of kind of checking in and looking to see where availability is coming up. Historically, with this particular CareerEco platform, they've said that there's tends to be an ebb and flow, meaning there's times that there are employers available and others when they're busier. So just kind of keep that top employer that you keep wanting to get into, keep looking there to see if they're available. Okay, so the messages, just for clarity's sake, you'll get messages only twice a day. And those are on a time schedule. I believe they're at 11 o'clock in the morning and 11 o'clock in the evening. So it's not as if messages you'll have to be checking like you check email a million times a day, if you're like me. You will just only need to check it probably once, really, right? And so you'll have a message or you won't. So don't worry too much about that.
Mm-hmm. Someone asked if there are 100 people in the chat room, how do you know when the company is replying to you versus someone else? So it should be apparent. When you're asking a question, if somebody answers your question, you'll be able to see that. It's possible that other people may have already asked that question. So we do advise you to read through the chat history before you ask a question to see if your question has already been answered. But you won't get alerts for messages unless they are private messages. So basically you'll type something into the main chat room, everybody will be able to see it, and someone from that company will type a response. Hopefully if you're the only one in there or there are only like a handful of students in there, it'll probably come right after your first message. If there are 100 students in there, you may wait a bit before you see your answer pop up.
somebody found, thank you. There is a place to upload portfolios when you edit your file, so excellent, thanks for that. Details of job specifications listed by the company in CareerEco. Great question, Radhika. Some employers might have that good information in the Career ecosystem. Some might have them on their website. Some might have them on Handshake. So honestly, check out all three, right? And that's based on the employer and how they do this. Some employers might be using CareerEco with us. They might go over to our friends at Case Western Reserve University and use a different platform. So, they're doing the best they can to put as much information as possible, but they might misstep now and then. So I think just for your own sake, do your due diligence and try your best to reach out in this, look rather in those three different places. Little clunky, but that's kind of how it honestly will work. Okay, yep. And
feel free oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying somebody else was responding to that. Yeah, you can definitely look at the details in that for sure. Thanks for helping each other with this. And they might very well have that information.
And if we didn't see your question, or if you have a question that wasn't in the chat, feel free to unmute yourself and just ask. We have about 5 minutes left, so.
Yep, there's 100 people that can be in the group chat. I think hi there.
Hi, Matthew. Hi, Christine. This is Aishwarya. I'm a grad student from Heinz College. I actually had a real quick question. I know you said you'll be uploading the slides onto the Handshake page. Will we get a notification when that gets uploaded, or should we just check back right there sometime this evening or so?
Yeah, you won't get a notification, but I will do that as soon as this ends. So by 8 o'clock, they should be there.
Okay, yeah. I think a lot of valuable information was shared in the slides, so just don't want to miss it out.
Sure.
And that's why, yeah. Thank you.
You're
Sure.
welcome.
Thanks a lot.
Also, I don't know if we mentioned this or not, but there is a CareerEco demo being given by CareerEco, the company, specifically for students on September 9th. So it sounds like, understandably, there are a lot of questions about how this is going to work. That might be a really helpful thing to attend as well. And the details for that demo are also in Handshake. So that's next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday, yep.
Anything else?
We looked through there. Sorry if we, didn't see everything in the chat, but don't be shy. Great. Well, thanks so much. It's a lot to think about. There's a lot to prepare for, but first and foremost, celebrate yourself and your great accomplishments. Put your best face forward and know that we're all doing our best collectively, career-wise, employer-wise, to have as high quality experiences for people as possible. We may have some bumps and kicks along the road, but don't let that deter you in reaching your goals for your career, for your academic course, whatever, and always feel like you can reach out to your career consultant if you have particular questions or anything else. We love to meet with students and we love to connect with you, so don't be shy about that. And like Kristen said, we'll be there at the fair, various times, different people, but we're there to help, so don't feel like you have to figure this all out on your own. If you're talking with an employer in the moment and then you kind of have a brain freeze and wonder, I don't know how to respond, just hop into our little booth and we can have a quick little chat session and work it out. So you got this, and good luck.
Good luck, everybody. Thank you.